Am I the blue one? Welcome. We will begin with a prayer blessing our food. The Lord be with you. Let us pray. Give us grateful hearts, our Father, for all thy mercies, and make us mindful of the needs of others through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Please be seated. Welcome to our Franklin Rotary Club forum for our state senate election. My name is Father Stephen Crawford. I am the priest at St. Mary's Episcopal Church in Franklin. I'm also a Rotarian, and I'm a proud member of the Rotary Club here in Franklin. And this year I am honored to serve as the president of our club. Thank y'all for joining us. I'm glad that y'all are here today. First, I want to go ahead and remind folks to silence their cell phones if you can. We appreciate the Forest Restaurant for hosting our conversation today, as well as Robin Boudreau with Easy Street Productions for helping us with sound. Many thanks to our media outlets broadcasting, and I'm also grateful to the Rotarians who work behind the scenes to put this together. People often ask, what is the Rotary Club? Rotary is actually an international organization with a presence all around the world, which has done great work in many, many places. For example, Rotary International has nearly eradicated the polio virus around the world. But the lifeblood of Rotary is local clubs like ours here in Franklin. So we are a civic organization that brings together leaders from our community. We do projects in our community, and we regularly meet over lunch on Tuesdays at noon, where great speakers come and give us an inside look at what's happening in our area. Let me just say a bit about why I think that matters. I'm concerned about the ways that people are withdrawn. So many people these days. Rotary keeps us from floating along in a bubble. Instead, our meetings are a place where leaders in Franklin come together. And for over 80 years, Rotary Club of Franklin has plugged people into the community for the good of the community. So it's a great organization. And if you're interested, please be sure to let us know. The upcoming election is certainly a great opportunity to be engaged in the community. So we're glad to have this discussion. With that, I especially, first and foremost, want to thank our two candidates, Mr. Robert Allain and Mr. Henry Beau LaGrange. You have both stepped out on a limb by going through what we know is a demanding election process. You've offered yourself for public service, and our community needs people who are willing to do that. So we thank you both. The election day is November 18th, and early voting is already underway. Today through the 11th, polls are closed on Friday for Veterans Day observance, but through Saturday, otherwise you can do early voting or vote on November 18th. So this is how the forum's going to go today. First, I just want to emphasize that we are a community, and these two candidates are a part of our community. We're in it together, and I'm confident that we're going to just have a really positive, friendly atmosphere today. Rotary Club does not endorse any candidate. This is informational in nature, so the people of State Senate District 21 can make their best decision when they step into the voting booth. The candidates will each be given 5 minutes to make an opening statement. They're seated in alphabetical order with Mr. Allain to the left, so Mr. LaGrange will make his opening statement first. After that, they will be invited to answer specific questions. And the way we're going to do that is you'll notice at the center of each table there are stacks of paper, little slips of paper with pens. And folks here in attendance today are encouraged and invited to write questions on those slips of paper. Mrs. Lauren Conley will will go patrol the room, picking up. If you hold it up after you write a question, she'll come pick it up and hand it to me, so that I can ask it to the candidates. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to, each candidate will be allowed to answer all questions, and they'll each be given 3 minutes to do so. Who speaks first will alternate with each question. And our timekeeper, Mr. Dolph Curate, will hold up a yellow card to let you know when you have 15 seconds left, and then a timer will sound to let you know that your time is up. The candidates are asked to abruptly stop their answer when time runs out, though of course candidates don't have to use all of their 3 minutes. And finally, the candidates will each make a closing statement, each getting it, again, 3 minutes for their closing statements. Since Mr. LaGrange was allowed to speak first, we'll let Mr. Allain give his closing statement first, followed by Mr. LaGrange. To help us get the most out of our time, I ask that the audience refrain from applause during our program until the very end, and then we'll close with the Pledge of Allegiance as we normally do our Rotary meetings. And so without further ado, yes?
The questions should be on the issues and directed both candidates will answer.
Exactly. That's a good point. Thank you, Dolph. So when you write a question, since both candidates will be answering, make sure that it is a question addressed to both candidates. Otherwise, it might not get asked. So let's get started. Mr. LaGrange, would you begin your opening statement?
Sure. Thank you, Father, and thank you to the Franklin Rotary Club for hosting this forum, and thank you all for attending today. My name is Henry Bo LaGrange. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a lifelong resident of Patterson. I'm the son of Ben LaGrange and Teresa Henry LaGrange. I'm married for 41 years to the former Margaret Dragna of Morgan City. We have 3 grown children, a daughter Megan, son Blake, and son Grant. I am the grandfather to 4 beautiful granddaughters, and proud that we'll have a 5th granddaughter coming in January. As I said, lifelong resident of Patterson. I graduated from Patterson High School, went on to LSU, graduated from LSU and came back home with a degree in business administration, came back home and worked with my father in land development and real estate for about 8 years. And in 1990, went to work for St. Mary Parish government and recently retired after 33 years of service, and served as the most recent 27 years as the Chief Administrative Officer for St. Mary Parish government. One of the reasons that I decided to run for this office was that I felt that having been a public servant, that is a passion and instilled in me, and that I wanted to continue to serve our citizens in our area and bring my knowledge and experience to Baton Rouge to help create a better Louisiana and help Senate District 21 thrive and prosper. Thank you.
Mr. Allain, would you give your opening statement?
Yes, thank you. Thanks everyone for coming. Thank you, Father. Thank you to the Rotary Club and for everyone in attendance. Say a little bit about myself, a little bit about why I'm in this race, and a little bit about what I hope to get accomplished. So, lifelong resident of St. Mary Parish. My wife Morgan and I are raising our 2 young girls here, and I started my career in sugarcane. Grew up on the sugarcane farm. I've done every job on the farm, from fabricating, welding. Don't judge my welds, but I can make 2 pieces of metal stick. I've done everything on the farm, pulled out combines in 3 foot of water. I've never been afraid of hard work. A few years ago, I diversified and founded Integrity Marine. I founded a marine company that specializes in portable barges, dredges, and heavy equipment. Started that company shortly before COVID. Probably one of the worst times to start a business in American history. But we not only made it through, but I was able to navigate that young company through highest barriers to entry, some of the highest insurance rates, probably the worst time to try to get parts in. Everything was back ordered. But through ingenuity and really a farming background, I was able to navigate that company not only to survive, but to thrive. And for the past 15 years, I've been a commercial alligator hunter. That I do not make any money doing. I do that simply because I love it. I'm a big outdoorsman, big hunter, big fisherman, and a big conservationist. So that's a little bit about my background. I'm in this race because I'm motivated from watching my two sisters get educated here. And like many families, we've watched our loved ones leave this state for better opportunities. My sisters are in Alabama and Texas, and probably never coming back. I don't fault anyone for wanting to better their opportunities. I just believe those opportunities belong here in Louisiana, especially with the amount of resources we have here. And my wife and I, when we discussed me running, one of the big factors for me was I don't want to see our girls grow up and have to make that same decision. I want those opportunities here, and I want them here now. So that's a little bit about why I'm in this race. The things that I want to work on, I think that can provide immediate relief to families is insurance reform, tax reform, tort reform, and education reform. These four things that I've identified, we can, with the team that's going to Baton Rouge in January, we can immediately start doing these reforms. People are not going to move here if we're not even competitive with our surrounding states. Those four items we have to fix, and we have to fix now. And I think you have seen, especially out of my generation, there's a lot of House members, there's a lot of Senate members that just got elected that are in their 30s and 40s. My generation does not want our friends and family to leave, and I think that's why we are motivated to get things done now. So I'd be honored to have your vote and your support, and thank you.
Thank you. Our first question, and you'll each have 3 minutes to respond. It's a two-part question. First, what are the responsibilities of a state senator? And secondly, which of these responsibilities do you think that you will be particularly good at? So, Mr. Allain, would you go first?
Sure. I think the number one responsibility is accessibility to your constituents. When there is an issue that you have with a state agency or the way a law is written, that it is unfair. I was talking to a contractor the other day that told me, we're capped at this certain level as residential, but the amount of money, the cost of goods increase. We cannot, the stuff we've been bidding as residential, we're now in commercial. You've got to be able to immediately get those complaints from your constituents and get them fixed, changed into law. Government works slow, and that's not me. I've been a businessman my whole life. I like things to move quickly. So I think the responsibility is constituent services first, and second is bringing home money and funding for the things that our district needs. Our district certainly needs more funding for Highway 90, roads and bridges. But our infrastructure needs also are water and drainage. We've got, in this district, we've got backwater flood control structures, locks, dams, levees, and pumps. A lot of them are old. And our water systems are old. A lot of the things that are going to need to be replaced, are going to have a hefty price tag. What I would be good at is I can work with anybody. I've worked with my dad. I've worked with my mom. I can get along with anybody. I can listen to their point of view, and we can have an open and honest discussion. I can work across the aisle. I can work with my party. I can work with another party. As long as you have to give respect to those in order to get it. I think that's what I would be good at.
Mr. LaGrange.
Thank you. What are responsibilities of the state senator? Well, first of all, the state senator's responsibilities are to work with the fellow senators, the governor's administration on initiatives that will move the state of Louisiana forward as a whole. Second responsibility, and just as important, is initiatives that affect or that can positively affect and help assist the areas of Senate District 21. One of the responsibilities would be to convey the message to my fellow legislators and the governor's staff and the governor himself as to what Senate District 21 means to the state of Louisiana, what Senate 21 brings to the diversity and what the economic engines are that Senate District 21 brings to the state of Louisiana. And the same token, informing them on what the needs are that will to help us continue to be that main or major part of the economic engine of the state of Louisiana. And of course, that would mean, also, working on the various legislation that would need to be passed to continue to do that. What part of being a senator would I be good at? Well, my 33 years with the parish, 27 as CAO, it has always taken a collaborative effort between the chief administrative officer, the parish president, and the various parish councils throughout the years. And you have to be collaborative to obtain the best results for your district and for the state. And that's something that I feel that I'm good at. I've done it for 27 years. The other part of that equation that I'm good at is, I feel that in my career, I've always made it a point to be accessible and responsive to the people, to the constituents. And I feel that was something that allowed me, that I'm proud of, to have been appointed and served by all the various parish presidents in St. Mary Parish.
Our next question is, what is your number 1 priority for St. Mary Parish? Mr. LaGrange.
Thank you. Number 1 priority, I've always been a big proponent of infrastructure improvements. And the number 1 priority, should I say 1A and 1B? Number 1 priority A, infrastructure. Number 1 priority B is lowering our insurance costs. That is a major factor in Senate District 21, both homeowners and flood insurance. Although flood insurance is more a factor at the federal level, the state can impact that by being supportive to our federal delegation to address that issue. Getting back to homeowners insurance, we need to make the market more competitive, but we also need to hold our insurance companies accountable to make sure that they do sustain financial stability so that we do not get caught with insurance companies filing bankruptcy and the state having to hold a bag and try to follow and settle all of the claims that those constituents had. So number 1 priority would be 1A and 1B. Infrastructure in the parish to continue to support all of our ports, our local roads, our state highways and federal highways, drainage, flood control, and 1B, insurance. Thank you.
Mr. Allain.
My number 1 priority is insurance. I've heard it throughout the district. Most of our district is right along the coast. Home, business, and auto, it's all too high. And when I talk to people, the first thing they say is, it's way too high. And the reason it's way too high is when people are no longer required to carry it, they are running the numbers and crunching the numbers on not insuring their home, their camp, whatever it may be. And I think that's significant, and it gets lost a lot in the insurance talks, is that we're losing our base for out-migration. We're losing out of both sides. We've got young people that are leaving here that are no longer buying insurance. And you've got, especially the older generation, as they pay theirs off, they look and say, well, we haven't had a major storm here, and if we can survive 3, 7, whatever their break-even number is, I'm going to come out ahead anyway. So we're losing our base out of both ends. shrinking base is the opposite of what we need. We need to expand the base. And I say Louisiana has a numbers problem, an out-migration problem. And what can we do to solve that? We can do these reforms. We can attract people to come in and stay here and buy insurance. But giving them one insurance company to choose from as your last resort, we can't have that anymore. We need to entice more insurance companies to come in right here without just handing them out money. We need to make sure our return on investment from these companies is contract written. I think we need to think outside the box and do a Southeastern Conference style of insurance commission with a bunch of southern states that says when Louisiana recently gave $40 million to entice insurance companies to come here, they can come here with no contract right, and when the risk gets too high, they can run back to Arkansas, run back to North Mississippi, run back to these other states, these other areas that the risk is very low. I think we need a coalition to do just that. Insurance is my number one. Out-migration is my number two, because without people here paying into the system, we're really not going to need roads.
Thank you. Our third question is, if you are elected, on which committees would you like to serve and why? Mr. Allain.
You know, this area is heavy in agriculture. From being in the farming industry, I think agriculture would be a natural committee to want to be on. It handles a lot more than just your row crop commodities. A lot more. Agriculture has forestry, and you know that between agriculture and forestry is huge business. It's the number 2 economic driver in the state. So agriculture committee would be one. Natural resources. We've got a ton of oil and gas and natural resources throughout this district. And then I would think, you know, obviously one of the finance committees, one of your commerce or your Rev and Fisc, something that has to deal with the money. I think that would be the top 3 I would choose.
Mr. LaGrange.
Sure. First and foremost, the first committee would be a revenue committee, Senate Finance Committee, which you know, deals with the state's budget. I think my experience of preparing and administering the parish's budget, over $35+ million over the last 27 years, would give me some good experience, and I could bring some experience to that committee in working on the state budget. Other committees, of course, the Insurance Committee, we've talked about that as well, and Transportation Committee, because that committee oversees all of the major infrastructure projects in our state, whether it's, you know, state highways, ports, airports, rail, all of those things pass through Transportation Committee, and I think my experience in all of the vast array of infrastructure projects that I have been involved with at the parish level, with both federal and state grants and various federal and state agencies and departments, again, I could contribute greatly to that committee.
Thank you. One question here asking, is there anything in the position that you're running for that would give you the ability to address issues like parks and recreation, housing, jobs, daycares, place for youth, physical and mental health after school, academics, those kinds of programs? Is there anything that you can see the state senator being able to do about these things? And I'm happy to list them again for you if you need.
Yeah,
that'd be good.
Please listen.
Parks and recreation, housing, jobs, daycares, place for youth, or physical and mental health after school academics. That's like 5 questions in one, which I suppose is one of them.
10 minutes to answer.
Should I go?
Mr. LaGrange, yes, thank you.
Okay. The ability to address that. Parks and recreation, Well, first of all, housing. The state has a robust housing program already. Continue to support the community development block grant programs and the other housing programs that are in place to help finance housing developments. Jobs. Obviously, it would be to provide the educational opportunities and job training opportunities to our current workforce, educational opportunities to our young people to get engaged and to be trained in a skill and become a skilled worker that can feed into our demand for skilled workers of all the business and industries in District 21. Daycare. The state has recently invested more in early childhood learning programs, and I would support and continue to support that investment. I think the results show that that is a great investment for our future generations, and I'm all about that because of my 5 granddaughters, and I want them to be able to stay in Louisiana and to have that opportunity to thrive here in Louisiana. Youth. Let's see, I'm trying to read my handwriting now. Mental health. The state, has a behavioral health programs throughout the state. At the parish level, we sponsored behavioral health both at outpatient and inpatient level through my years of experience, and so we will continue to support that because it is a very important component of having a good functioning society, both in the family level and in our school system.
Thank you. Mr. Allain.
Yeah, first part of that was Parks and Rec. I had a meeting with Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser, and he understands how important this area is for our rich history and the amount of museums, parks that we have here, and vowed to work with me should I be elected on funding more programs and continuing the programs that are already existing on that side. There are existing housing programs as well that we need to continue to support, that you have my word we would support and continue to get funding for those programs. Creating jobs is, look, I've been in business, I've run a business, I've started a business from scratch. The people that run businesses understand what they need. And I've always, through this campaign, I've said you have to match industry with the needs. You can't just throw something at the wall. This area, this district was lacking in aluminum welders and truck drivers. Built a aluminum welding and truck driving school. That's the kind of things that is responsible government spending that also helps our industry and create jobs. Daycares, we need more of them. My wife and I were discussing that the other day. Limited options. And I understand in a small town, but as far as getting whatever funding we could to grow that and whatever incentive programs, thinking outside the box, filing for grants, really taking every pool of money we can is what it's going to take. Youth activities. We have rec centers, and I'll touch on youth activities are really important. I think if you set a child out on the right path early, you're going to like the end result. So the more opportunities we have, we just had our, I think, 6 night out on crime. These government, or these night out to match our law enforcement, our community leaders, and our children, and explain to them there are great things you can do. There are fun things to do here that will keep you out of trouble. Mental health is a huge problem, and I think growing every day, more and more people understand that that's a real thing. It maybe used to be a taboo thing to say. Bayou Bend has some of those resources now, and I think we as community leaders should promote that if you are struggling, there are resources for you out there, and that it's okay to go and seek that help.
I have one question from the audience that I'll kind of expand out from how it's written and just ask, how would you work with particular local leaders to get things done here in St. Mary Parish and the surrounding areas. Mr. Allain.
I've talked to a lot of local leaders, newly elected, some still in the runoff, and I've given them my word that after this election is over, this is a clean slate. Doesn't matter who you supported, doesn't matter who you voted for. My job would be to take requests from all leaders throughout the parish and make sure we're all working as one. I would sit down with every single mayor, their councils. I would sit down with the parish president and all of his council and keep everybody in the loop. Connectivity and conversation is how you keep the ball rolling. I think that having everybody on the same page pushing forward is the way to do it. And I think the only way to do that is to build relationships with people, not only that supported you, but people that didn't support you. So that's what I would do. Start with a clean slate. My door would always be open. And I'm willing to work with anybody and everybody that's for the goal of making Senate District 21 a better place to work, live, and do business in.
Thank you. Mr. LaGrange.
Yes. How would you work with local leaders? Well, this is something I would fit hand in glove. I would continue to do that as I've done the past 27 years, working with the mayors of the 5 municipalities that have come through as elected leaders in those various municipalities, working with those city councilmen, and of course, working with the parish president and the parish council members. I think one of the things would be to communicate with them or receive feedback from them on what are their priorities, what are their needs for their communities. Sometimes, each municipality or other areas may have a particular need that's not the same as another area. And the other thing would have strong communication and then collaboration with those local leaders to make sure we're all moving forward. We have a collaborative effort on the initiatives that we want to undertake. And I've done it in my career, and I feel comfortable doing it, and I know I can continue to do that. And not to leave out other local leaders, not just municipalities, but our 2 ports and our levee district and our drainage districts. Those are very important areas where there's some strong local leaders, and they have some great initiatives that are wonderful for the needs of our community. Thank you.
Our next question, someone asks about the old Franklin Foundation Hospital and the possibility of it becoming a housing entity. Are you familiar with that? And if so, do you know where it stands?
I'm familiar with it, and I think it's been through various iterations of potential investors or developers wanting to come in to develop that and collaborate with, as my understanding, the most recent initiative was to collaborate with the city of Franklin. And, the biggest obstacle that I understand it to be is the funding cycle, whether it's financing, grants, or a combination thereof, and making sure that the developer that wants to come in would have the financial stability and I guess financial statement to show that they could make it work and that our community would support it, just as the community has supported the Bayou Bend Wellness Center. I think it would be a key factor that you get the same type of community support in order to make that a successful housing amenity for Franklin.
Thank you. Mr. Allain.
Yeah, I've heard similar things about housing at the old Franklin Foundation. It's got to make sense. You've got to make sure you have the money to go in, do the proper renovations, and you have to make sure that those investors are not going to leave halfway through, that the plan is well thought out, that they have the funding to get it all the way through. Because at the end of the day, it cannot become another burden on the taxpayers. Taxpayers have enough burden as it is now. So I would support a plan that is well thought out, that the numbers work. But if the numbers don't work, I don't see much else you can do with it.
Our next question is, school choice might be arriving in Louisiana. Do you support school choice? If so, what form do you think it should take? And are you concerned about its effect on public education? Mr. Allain.
I do support school choice. I think Louisiana spends some of the highest in the nation per child. There is no reason we shouldn't have some of the highest scores in the nation, but we don't. I am looking forward to making sure the parents have a choice, that they're not stuck sending their kid to a failing school. That's not what I want. I understand on how it would affect public education. I'm not going after public education. I just want, we cannot continue to move the goalposts to meet statistics. And that's what I have seen going on. We don't meet the statistics, we're going to change the criteria. We're going to change how you can do that. I think we have to give the school boards, the teachers, the schools the ability when they run into a problem, they have to be able to say, we're in trouble, and not fear getting punished for it. I think we need some, I spoke about education reform, but I think your tax dollars should be able to go with your child. I think you should be able to send them where you want to send them without harming public education.
Mr. LaGrange.
Thank you. Yes, I also support school choice. Studies have shown that states or areas that have implemented this, that parents of the children are more engaged when they have the opportunity to have a say in the choice of their children's school. And that's a big factor in Louisiana. We need more and more parents to be engaged with their child's education and learning. On the other side, our schools, teachers, and administrators, will strive to improve their schools, knowing that, they're there. Look, most teachers are there because it's in their heart to teach young people and see them thrive and flourish. And so school choice would also hopefully empower them to continue to work, always look at ways to improve themselves and improve the school in general. And I think having school choice will accomplish that, and you'll see public schools improve and still thrive in that scenario.
Thank you. Our next question. The budget has recently had surpluses many years. It's had deficits. How do you think the legislature should approach the state budget in the coming years? Mr. LaGrange, yes.
Thank you. Great question. Budget surpluses, as a legislator, sometimes that's a great thing to see a budget surplus, because it gives you some options, not only to provide the needed services that the state provides to its constituents, but it may also give you the opportunity to continue to set money aside for the rainy days, for the bad years. And as you know, government budgets are up and down, and it's real hard to always just increase taxes or change the tax code for income taxes. You would hope that you can decrease taxes. Budget surpluses, we have, I think, a constitutional amendment right now that, the state has set up some surplus, some rainy day funds, budget stabilization funds. There's a mechanism on what monies, when you meet a certain threshold, which monies will go into those funds. And so, again, I would like to see the surpluses go into those funds to help even out the ups and downs of your revenue streams or state budgets, where you can stay on an even keel, maintain your services to the public. The other part is, if there's a portion available for one-time spending, I think that's also good, because there's always infrastructure needs in our state. And so if you're not impacting or cutting services to the constituents that are needed, and you can improve something such as the painting of the bridge over the Chaffalaya River, those are needed things that sustain your community, and that's also a good use of the funds.
Mr. Allain.
Yeah, there's a projected surplus right now. Matter of fact, there's a projected surplus through fiscal year 26. And I think we've got an opportunity to use that money. And this is not borrowed money. This is money in the bank. And I want to see us put some money away. I want to see us pay down some debt. But I'd really like to see a large increase in getting our infrastructure up to code. You know, we talked earlier about getting people here, getting businesses here. The first thing they do when they ride down 90 is squirrel all over the place if they're pulling a trailer. You know, it's terrible. So we've got until 26. And the reason there is a projected fall off in the budget in 26 is that's when the 0.45 sales tax falls off. So the way I look at this issue is we've got until 26 to fix it up, get our area nice, get our state nice, and grow the economy for a couple of years. I do not want to see that 0.45 sales tax have to be renewed. I think we have the team going to Baton Rouge that is going to get these reforms done, get our economy back going. I don't know what's going to happen on the national level, but I know this state has a large appetite for getting things done, getting it right, investing in ourselves, and getting our economy back moving. We do that, and we grow our economy, we get our people back in here, we're not going to need that 0.45. We're not going to have these budget shortfalls, and we'll have the money, making sure that money goes to the right places, to the infrastructure. You know, you've got to spend one-time money on one-time uses. You've got to be smart with our budget, but you've got to look ahead. You've got to look years in ahead and know when that money's going to fall off, because you can't get to 26 and say, we're out of money. We're halfway through these projects, or we built this section of roadway, and now we've got a big gap in it. I think we've just got to be good stewards of the people's money and make sure we're looking years and years ahead to make sure it goes seamlessly.
Our next question. Do you count yourself as a person of faith? And however you answer that question, would you see that connecting with your work in the state Senate? Mr. Allain.
Yes. You know, I was raised in a traditional Catholic household where, church was not an option. We were going. And, I'll tell you, I've got a spiritual mentor, lives a few houses down from me. And, when you start a family and you start to raise your kids, you realize that you're the leader of your family, of your household. And I went to my mentor and I said, look, I've got a great relationship with the Lord. I'm religious, but I feel like I'm missing something. And, I want to make sure I'm the leader of this family for my girls. And he said something to me that started my journey, started my Crescia retreat, was he said, it is your job to lead your whole family to Christ. And right then and there, it was like a light bulb clicked in my head that, I needed to do better because, little girls are like parrots. They're going to say what you say, and they're going to do what you do. So if you lead by example, you're going to be all right. So yes, that would be a large factor in legislation and how I would conduct myself at the Capitol as a man of faith.
Mr. LaGrange.
Thank you. Yes, I do consider myself a person of faith. I'm also a lifelong Catholic, member of St. Joseph Catholic Church in Patterson. Currently serve as a lector at church and also a member of the Patterson Knights of Columbus Council 1710 and served as a past Grand Knight of that as well. My faith started out with my mother, who's now 89. She'll be 90 in January. And she instilled that faith in all of myself and my siblings. And as Robert mentioned, you didn't have a choice. You did attend Mass. You attended, as we called it, catechism, back in the day. And, and it was instilled in us. And as once I settled in Patterson and, ingrained again into the community, my wife and I, and we raised our 3 children. all graduates of Patterson High, but also instilled that faith in them, and they still are instilling that faith in their children and my grandchildren as well. How does that connect in the state Senate? Well, I think, you always go in with the mindset of those beliefs, those basic moral beliefs and the moral compass that you have as a man of faith or a person of faith. And you use those principles and that moral compass when you're debating and deliberating issues at the state level and how it would affect all walks of life, all of the citizens of the state of Louisiana. So I think that background is definitely something that will be useful and that I will be able to convey in the state legislature. Thank you.
Thank you both, and thanks to our attendees today for their questions. We'll now finish with closing statements in reverse order of our opening statements. You each have 3 minutes. Mr. Allain, would you please give your closing statement?
Yeah. Thanks again to the Rotary Club, Father, to the attendees for coming out. Look, it's an important election. Every election is important. As a father, a husband, and a businessman, I don't just talk about these issues passionately because I'm running an election and these are hot button issues. I'm affected every day by these issues, and I care about them dearly because I know it's not just affecting my family, it's affecting yours. I believe I'm the best man for this job because of these things, because of being in it every day, starting a business from scratch, I can connect with people that have been through it, and I understand what they're facing. I understand the insurance crisis we have. I understand the crime problem we have, and needing to help law enforcement do their job as new different types of drugs come across the border and come into our area. I understand all these issues, and I am passionate about getting them fixed because I don't think we have a lot of time. I think this reform that is needed needs to happen now. I'm motivated. I'm ready to fight for you. I'm ready to fight for my family and this state and this area's future. And I would be humbled and honored to have your support. So please remember to vote. Number 55, Robert Allain for State Senate. Thank you.
Mr. LaGrange.
Thank you. I want to reiterate that. Another thank you to all of you for coming and attending. And I applaud you all for the wonderful, great questions that you presented to us today. I believe that my 33 years of public service, my experience and knowledge of the issues important to the communities in District 21 will ensure that we have meaningful results. My father was a self-employed entrepreneur, and I grew up in that household. Him and my mother worked side by side in several different businesses, and as we got old enough to work, we did the same. So I do know and currently my brother and I are small business owners as well in Patterson. So I do know the issues and the struggles that small businesses go through and the obstacles, sometimes overreach by government as well, that presents more obstacles than it should for our businesses to thrive. But I believe that I am the most qualified candidate here with the most experience and the most knowledge of the issues, and that I would be the one to be able to collaborate from day one and hit the ground running and be the most accessible and responsive candidate for the citizens of District 21. Thank you.
Thank you both. Let's give a round of applause for our candidates.
Good job.
Again, we'll conclude our time together today as we do all our Rotary meetings. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,